Somewhere in Eastern Europe, where the winters are bitterly cold, there is a dark forest. And if you are brave, foolish, and ignorant enough to find yourself in this particular dark forest, you might come across to a house which is quite weird, an odd looking house. It is a wooden hut, but it is like no other wooden hut that you have ever seen in your life, because this one stands on giant chicken legs. It moves around, and it is also speaking and also has eyes. It is a really weird looking hut. And in this hut, there is nowhere else. And in this hut, there is no one else but Baba Yaga who lives in it. Watch out! I do not advise knocking on Baba Yaga's hut, no matter how much you are lost in the forest, for Baba Yaga is a witch. On the edge of Baba Yaga's forest, there is a small village. And people in this small village, they all know about this weird looking hut and about the lady that lives inside of it. They all know her and they all fear her, for it has been long suspected that she is one who likes to eat children. So in this small village, long time ago, there was a family, a mother, a father, and a daughter who was called Vasilisa, who were living there. And one day, the mother fell terribly and seriously ill. And so now she is on her deathbed. And she has the white, pale face, just like the white limestone. They all know that she is having the very last moments of her life. And she is having her daughter next to her and her husband next to her. And as she is moving into the transition, becoming an ancestor, the mother is calling the daughter to come close to her for the very last time. And so the young Vasilisa, the daughter, is approaching the bed and is going next to her mother, and she's kneeling down on her knees. And so as she is on her dying bed, the mother has her last wish, and she is calling her daughter, the young Vasilisa, to come even closer to her and to kneel down. And Vasilisa is coming with her red boots and the white apron, and she's coming very close to her mother. And then once they are in this intimate moment, the mother is looking her daughter in the eye, and she's saying, "My love, the brightest gift of my whole life, I have something for you. I have something to give you." And from under the covers, she is pulling out a doll that was dressed exactly like Vasilisa. She had red boots and a white apron and a black skirt and a vest embroidered in all the colors that exist in the world. And so with this doll, the mother is saying to her daughter, "Take this precious doll, take it. And not if, but when you find yourself in trouble, when you find yourself lost, when you need someone to guide you, when you need help, ask the doll, what should you do? And the doll will be there to guide you, will be there to assist you in your life. But beware, you have to tell no one about this doll, and you should frequently feed her. Feed the doll every single day. And keep it very close to you. No matter where you go, take it with you. And so with these very last words, the mother is taking the last deep breath, and then she is falling into the depths of her body, and it is known that that was the very last breath, and she's going into her dying. Now the father and the daughter, they mourned her, they grieved, cried, suffered, not only for months, but most probably for years to come, the death of this beloved wife and mother. But similarly to the fields that were destroyed by war, similarly, the life of the father rose green again. And he, years later, found a woman, a widow, that he married with. And this woman had also 2 daughters of her own. And although the now stepmother and the stepsisters seemed to be polite and gentle, and they were, behaving like ladies, there was something suspicious. There was something mean that was hiding just behind their smile, that somehow Vasilisa was able to see, but the father of Vasilisa was unable to notice. So every time the father was home, the stepmother and the stepsisters were behaving nicely with Vasilisa, but every here and there, they were passing through her, especially one of the daughters, and they were whispering to her ear, "Just you wait. Just you wait until your father leaves the home. You will see what is waiting for you." Just after Vasilisa turned 16, so it happened that her father needed to go on a long journey in some faraway lands for just some work purposes. When Vasilisa found about this journey of her father, she tried to beg him, to implore him to take her with him. But the father refused to do so, telling her that it's just work affairs and she will be bored and she will be tired. And so here she is, Vasilisa, all alone with her stepmother and stepsisters. And so very shortly after the father went on his long journey, the mother, the stepmother, and the stepsisters started to conspire something. They couldn't stand her any longer. And so, what was their plan? They planned to put out the fire, to run water on the fire. Beware, I have to tell you this. We were in the middle of the winter time. And in those lands, in those times, in winter time, it was known that whatever the family needed to do, the fire needed to kept going. It was a way of keeping the heart, the center of the house alive. And the warmth needed to keep on offering itself to the members of the family and to the hut itself. So no matter what you would do as a family, you kept the fire going. So the sisters and the stepmother kind of came with this plan to put out the fire, to run water on the fire, and then to send Vasilisa to no one else but to Baba Yaga for bringing the fire from Baba Yaga back to their home. So one day, after Vasilisa spent most of the day outside doing the work, piling up the wood, she entered the house and she noticed that there was no fire. There was no fire burning. And she worried and she was confused and she asked her stepmother, "Stepmother, where is the fire? How are we going to cook? How are we going to keep ourselves warm?" And she was asking all these questions. And at this, the stepmother, a little bit unpolite, told her something like this. "Oh, you stupid child! Of course there's no fire. And I cannot go into the woods to bring the fire because I am too old. And my daughters, well, they are afraid of the dark and afraid of the forest. So there's only you that is able to go to the forest and take the fire. And you will go nowhere else but to Baba Yaga. Find her hut and take the fire, or at least a coal that is still burning, and bring it back home." Well, Vasilisa heard this task, this demand coming from her stepmother, and although she was afraid, although she did not know the way of the forest and how to get to that hut of Baba Yaga to take the fire, she accepted it. She took with her a little bit of bread and she ventured into the unknown. Every step was a step that she was taking into the unfamiliar. And she walked and walked and she was scared. But she needed only to touch a little bit the doll inside of her apron. And just by touching her doll, that by the way she was feeding daily, she felt a little bit more secure and in comfort, and also even in good hands and in good faith. And so she walked. She walked in the forest, and every noise was a scary noise for her. And you might know from your own experience, the forest truly is alive at night. And so every single sound that she was hearing, she was wondering, what is it? What is it? What is this? What is that? And at every fork, at every intersection, not knowing which way to go, right or left, she was touching the doll, and she was connecting with the doll, and she was asking the doll, what should I do? And every single time the doll was answering, go right, go left, go straight. It took her time to learn the language of the doll, and it took her time to really listen and to know the whispers of the doll. And every time that she would stop for rest, she was also feeding the doll. So one day, as she was journeying in the forest, she heard the noise and the sound of galloping horses. Or at least it was one horse that she saw, a white horse with a rider riding the horse. And this rider had a dazzling white cloth wrapped around him. And Vasilisa looked at him as he gracefully passed her by. And then she continued her journey. And then, soon after, she heard the galloping of another horse. This time, she saw that this horse is ridden by a man that has a red blazing cloth wrapped around him. And Vasilisa again saw the man, saw the rider, and the rider passed her by. And then, later that day, in the evening or so, she heard again another noise, and another horse approached her. This time, a black horse with a man, with a rider that was wrapped around a pitch dark black cloth. And again, they passed her by. So soon after she saw the last rider, she came to a place in the forest that it was an opening. And although it was dark already, the night has come, she was able to see. And not because of the full moon, no. She was able to see because there it was a hut that was surrounded by skulls that were on fire. In the middle of the skulls there was fire, and so through the eyes of the skulls the blazing fire was illuminating the place around. Vasilisa was frightened, was scared about this image, but she knew that she arrived at the hut of Baba Yaga. So this fence that was holding all these skulls was quite high. But the house was high too, because remember, the house was standing on giant chicken legs. And so the moment the house saw Vasilisa, the house itself started to move and to approach her and to even lay and kneel down in order for Vasilisa to be able to reach the house. But just before Vasilisa reached the house and tried to open the gate of the fence, there was someone waiting there. And at first, Vasilisa saw just a giant, bony, big nose, because the nose of Baba Yaga was big. And so, after 2 seconds after she saw this nose, she finally saw the woman herself. And it was an old woman, a tall woman, but an old woman. And she thought to herself, oh, this is the witch. This is Babushka. This is Baba Yaga. The moment Baba Yaga saw Vasilisa, she asked her, "What are you doing here, child? How come you are visiting me at this late time of night? Who brought you here and what are you looking for?" And Vasilisa, you can imagine, trembling and kind of scared, she started to tell Baba Yaga her story. She started to tell her that, well, she's there because she needs fire. She needs the fire because her people are cold and her people will die without this fire. And Baba Yaga looked at her and said, "Ha! And what makes you think that I would give you the fire? Just like that, so simple, do you think that I will give you the fire?" And at this question, Vasilisa thought for a moment, and she touched her doll inside of her apron, and the doll gave her the strength to answer, "Well, you should give me the fire because I need it. That's why." Baba Yaga thought, well, aren't you courageous? But this is in fact the right answer. So let me see what I can do for you, little girl. Well, of course I'm not going to give you the fire just like that. You will have to accomplish some tasks for me. And if you manage to accomplish these tasks, then I will give you the fire that you came for. But if not, then you will be my supper or my breakfast. Either way, you will be my feast. So when hearing Baba Yaga's words, Vasilisa did not feel any less scared than she felt when she first saw the hut and the Baba Yaga appearance and so on. But she decided to go all the way. She decided to say yes to all that Baba Yaga was asking her to do, because she came there for the fire and she needed to leave that place with the fire for her people. And so Baba Yaga invited Vasilisa inside her hut, and I'm telling you, the inside of the hut was as weird and unusual as the outside. It was somehow both large but also narrow, and Baba Yaga's bed was somehow above the huge oven that was as big as half of the room. And the pots and the plates and the chairs and the table, they were all moving and they were wobbling around. A madness. The inside of the hut of Baba Yaga was a madness. And so once they were inside, Baba Yaga told Vasilisa, well, as a first task for you, you have to clean my hut and to also clean my garden, my yard. And you also have to wash my clothes and to cook me supper and just anything else that you can imagine that is needed to be done in this house, you have to do it. And besides this, here is a pile of corn, a very big pile of corn. You have to separate the bad corn from the good corn. And this I will give you time just by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, when I will wake up, I want to see all these tasks done. Hearing the first task that Baba Yaga gave her, Vasilisa started feeling overwhelmed. She was thinking, how on earth was she able to complete all the tasks? But then, guess what? She remembered about the doll. And then she asked the doll what to do. And the doll told her not to worry, but to eat something and to go to sleep. And that in the morning, everything will be all right. And so she did. She ate a little bit and she gave the doll something to eat as well, and she went to sleep. And when she woke up, she did wake up just before Baba Yaga, she saw that everything was completed. The task was done. There was the food already cooked, the hut seemed to be clean, and the piles of corn were separated. It was the doll that helped her do that, together with the help of the white rider. Somehow the two of them conspired something and helped Vasilisa accomplish her first task. And so, when Baba Yaga woke up, she found everything done rightfully, and she had her breakfast, and she was, to be honest, quite surprised. She said, well, not bad, child, but this is only the first task. Wait, there is more to come. So, hear me out. This is the second task I'm giving you. And as she's saying that, Baba Yaga is inviting Vasilisa outside the hut. So, as they are outside the hut, Baba Yaga is pointing out to Vasilisa to a really big pile of dirt, a really big pile of soil. And is telling Vasilisa, come, approach this pile. Approach it all the way until you can see that in this pile of dirt, there are also poppy seeds. And Baba Yaga is telling Vasilisa, by the time I come home, you should separate the dirt from the poppy seeds to make two piles. Vasilisa was like, this is impossible. I can barely see the poppy seeds that are in the pile of dirt. I will be never able to accomplish this task. And this being said, Baba Yaga jumped into her mortar. To tell you what is a mortar, is something that you use in the kitchen. It's a very strong bowl in which you put herbs or garlic, everything that you need to grind or to crush. And the utensils that you use in order to grind this, it's called a pestle. So imagine this, but in a very large size. And this was the mortar of Baba Yaga that she was using to go in places. And she was using this pestle as a paddle so that she would paddle the air and she would move across the land. And one more thing very important to Baba Yaga that you should know, that she was always having a broom with her. And this broom was made out of the hair of a long dead person. Creepy, right? And she was using this broom to swipe her tracks so that nobody at any time would know where she was. And so, with this kind of cauldron, with this kind of mortar, she went away, leaving Vasilisa yet again alone with her task. And Vasilisa again didn't know what to do, how to do it. She barely started to find the poppy seed and put it away, and then another poppy seed and put it away, and she realized that she lost the first poppy seed that she found. Wow, what a task! But then again, she knew that she has her doll, and again she asked the doll, how would I do this? I need help, I need support. And yet again, the doll came into her help. Not alone, but this time with the help of the red rider, the red man that was having a blazing red cloth wrapped around him. And then the moment came when Baba Yaga returned home, and she realized that yet another time Vasilisa managed to complete her task. And then Baba Yaga did something that also did the previous day. 3 pairs of hands appeared from the right corner of her hut. And these pairs of hands came, they were just the hands, and the previous day they took the corn and they started to grind the corn, and this day they took the poppy seeds and they started to make oil out of the poppy seeds. And Vasilisa became very curious about these mysterious pairs of hands that were coming, and they were almost like the servants of Baba Yaga. And Baba Yaga told Vasilisa, well, aren't you a hard-working girl? But let's see if you are also smart and clever, shall we? Because, hear me out, this is the third and the last task. If you are going to accomplish this task, well, I will give you the fire that you came from. But if not, you know it already. I will eat you. I will simply eat you. So, here is the task. I am very curious to know the number of the stars in the sky. In the night, you are going to count the right exact number of the stars that are on the sky. And if you are going to tell me the wrong number, 1 star too many or 1 star too few, you are going to not complete your task, and I'm going to eat you. And you're not going to receive that fire that so much you want. Okay, Vasilisa said. Now what am I going to do? Separating poppy seeds or corn seeds was not easy, but was still not as hard as counting all the stars that are on sky in the night. And so she started sobbing. She started crying, desperate. Nobody, no doll, no rider will ever be able to help me in accomplishing these tasks. What am I going to do? And so as the night was approaching, she started counting the stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But the moment she reached 100, she had already forgotten which stars did she counted already and which stars were about to be counted. So she was started all over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Over and over and over. She couldn't see how would she accomplish this task. And then, just like a mysterious force, just like being in a dream, she saw the black rider approaching and approaching. And just like in the dream time, the black rider approached her ear and whispered to her ear the right number of the stars that are on the sky. Well, Of course, this number is a secret. I cannot tell you. But be sure that he whispered the right number to the ear of Vasilisa, and then he took off. He left, riding his black horse into the night. And so in the morning, when Baba Yaga returned from who knows where, she had the number. She had the number of the stars. And of course, Baba Yaga asked her, "Well, child, tell me, what is the number of the stars? Do you know?" And Vasilisa told the big number that was whispered to her ear by the black rider. So Baba Yaga was suspicious, and she asked, "Who helped you? Somebody must have helped you." And Vasilisa did not say that no, she was not helped, but she was curious. And she asked Baba Yaga, "Grandmother, can I ask you some questions?" And Baba Yaga said, "Sure, child, why not? But beware, too much knowledge would make one too old too soon." Okay, so Vasilisa started with her questions. "You know, on my way here, I encountered a white rider. Who is that one?" And Baba Yaga immediately knew what Vasilisa was speaking about, and she told her, "Well, that is my day." "Ah, okay," Vasilisa said. And then immediately another question popped out. "But, you know, I also encountered a red rider. Who is that one?" And Baba Yaga said, "Well, that is my rising sun." Yeah, that makes sense," says Vasilisa. "But then there was also a black, dark rider. Who is that one?" And of course, Baba Yaga told her, "Well, that was my night." Okay, great. And Vasilisa was just about to ask another question. Of course, she was very curious about many things, but also about the mysterious hands that appeared to be the servants of Baba Yaga. But the doll started shaking inside of the apron of Vasilisa, and Vasilisa in that moment remembered that Baba Yaga told her too much knowledge would make one too old too soon. And so, when Baba Yaga asked her, "Come on, child, don't you have any other questions for me?" Vasilisa answered, No, thank you, grandmother. As you said, too much knowledge would make me too old too soon." Baba Yaga says, "Aren't you wise? You're hard-working, you're smart and clever, and also wise. May I ask, where do you have your wisdom from?" And innocently and purely, Vasilisa answered, "Well, this is a gift from my mother. It's a blessing." And when Baba Yaga heard about blessings, she said, "Oh, no, I don't need to hear about any blessings. You know what? You stayed enough here. It's time for you to go back to your village. And here, I will give you the fire." And so Baba Yaga took Vasilisa, and they went outside, and she took a skull from the many skulls that she had there with the fire, and she put it on a stick, and she gave the stick to Vasilisa. Finally, after so much hard work, Vasilisa is taking the stick with the fire, with the skull that is lighted up by the fire, and she is returning to her village. The way home, was not easy, but was way more familiar than previously. And so she returned through the same forest, and now she knew the ways of the forest. She knew the voices of the forest. She knew the sounds. She was actually becoming to feel comfortable to be in the night or in the daytime in the forest. But guess what? All of a sudden, as she was approaching home, she was so close to home. She was so close to arriving home. she got scared again. What do you think that Vasilisa was scared about? Oh, I really wish you were here next to me and we could be in the circle to ask you this very question. Because it's a really good question and I'm so curious about what you would answer to this question. What would Vasilisa be scared of? Well, she started to be terrified, as I said, terrified by the very thing that she was holding. She started to be terrified by the light, by the fire that she so much and so hard she worked for. She almost offered her life to this fire, and now she was so terrified. She was freaking out. She almost threw the stick with the skull, with the fire, on the floor, on the ground. And in that moment of tension and panic, guess what? The flame itself, the fire itself, started speaking to Vasilisa and started to calm her down. And the fire told her, no, don't be afraid. You are capable of holding me. You are capable to bring me back to your home. You are capable of this. And so, after hearing the flame itself speaking to her, Vasilisa pulled herself together and continued her journey back to her village, back to her home. And finally, she did arrive home. Home where the stepmother was and the stepsister were, and not that they were expecting her because they very much hoped that she would be dead, but she brought the fire back. And once she entered the house, she said hello, but there was no response. There was no answer in return. The moment the fire saw the stepmother and the stepdaughter, they somehow, in a mysterious way, turned to dust. And so, soon after that, she made the fire again, and she made the house warm again. And soon after that, the father returned. And so, for a while, it was just her and her father living in that warm house. Now, Vasilisa preparing herself for a different and a further and a deeper stage of her life. This is the story of Baba Yaga, one of the many stories of Baba Yaga, and the story of Vasilisa. And I do hope that the story is stirring some potent questions inside your heart, and hopefully it is planting a seed of inspiration for your life.